Welcome to episode 5 of my Fullmetal Alchemist series. Before I begin, I gotta say, doing this series has probably been the most fun I've... Oh, you want the Latin opening? Okay, let me think. One sec. Oh, non possum credere me tota me disse. I give up. As I was saying, working on this series has been the most fun I've had making videos since I did my initial string of Silent Hill videos back in 2019. There is nothing that makes me happier as a nerd than discovering secrets in a beloved series and having fans of that series respond positively to your findings. Though I obviously say this out of gratitude to all the viewers, thank you for being awesome, I'm also saying this to preface the following. This will be the last video that I do on Fullmetal Alchemist for a while. In case you don't recall what I said at the beginning of my first video, I am very new to FMA. I have only watched the Brotherhood anime, and with this 5th video, I will have covered everything from that series which I felt was relevant. I've yet to watch the original series, along with all the movies. I've been told that there's a wealth of stuff to analyze there, but that takes time. And there are other anime series that my viewers are begging me to check out. So don't fret, there will be more in the future. It will just take time. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes. In the last video, I said that this video would focus on a series of minor symbols and concepts. But after closer inspection, I realized that a lot of these minor symbols had greater importance than I realized. Things like Scar's arm tattoo, the two-headed dragon symbol, the name of God, and the whole concept of Alkahestry might share one giant connection, not only between each other, but everything else I've discussed in this series up until this point. To explain things in the clearest way that I can, I'm going to start in what might seem like an unusual, random place. When I first started watching Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, one of the first symbols that stood out to me was in an alchemy textbook that young Edward was studying. A hand with what appeared to be Hebrew letters mixed with Japanese. When I saw this for the first time, my immediate thought was that this was a hamsa, aka a hand of Fatima, a charm that is often used in North African and Middle Eastern cultures to ward off evil spirits. To clarify my suspicions, I got in contact with a viewer of mine named Mysterious Venus. Initially, they were interested in helping me decipher the Hebrew text in the Berserk manga, back when I was doing my series on that. I figured I would ask them about the text on the hand and maybe if it reminded them of a hamsa. Venus concurred with my hamsa interpretation, saying they initially thought the same thing. They then provided a translation of the text. According to them, the two words in Hebrew translate to alilozo and either vega or vek. The first word might just be gibberish, but the second one could mean two possible things. According to Venus, Vega is the 5th brightest star in the night sky. Vek could mean Prince of Cards, a place in Israel, or a cockroach. The Hamsa is one possible form of inspiration, but I will note one other possibility. The hand could instead be borrowed from a Kabbalistic text known as the Shefatal, which would line up well with the show's use of other Kabbalistic concepts, like the Sephirotic tree and the primordial man. Notice the division of the letters on the hands and how similar they are to the divisions on the hand in Edward's book. Apparently, there are 28 sections on the hand, and the number 28 is equivalent to the Hebrew word koach, which means strength. Between the Hamsa and the Kabbalistic hand, I think the latter is the more likely inspiration, and it all has to do with these Hebrew letters that we see at the bottom, letters that we also see in the top right of Edward's textbook. To Hebrew speakers, these letters are instantly recognizable. It is what is known as the Tetragrammaton, otherwise known as the holiest name of God in Judaism. Now, I argue that there might be one other place that we see the Tetragrammaton in FMA, albeit in a different script. That place being the Xerxes tablet.
The symbol for God is written upside down.
Though this isn't Hebrew script, at least I don't think it is 4 letters and refers to God. As you can see, the hand and the name of God don't bear that much significance to the FMA mythology. I felt compelled to address them, however, in case one or two of you asked me if there was any grand meaning to them. Now I will use the name of God on the Xerxes tablet to transition to the much more relevant symbol just below it, the two-headed dragon.
And beneath it is the two-headed dragon, the alchemic symbol for a complete life form.
The symbol of the dragon is ubiquitous in alchemy. It is used to illustrate various alchemical concepts, including ones I have discussed in this series, like the Ouroboros and the Prima Materia, aka the first matter of the alchemists. I have to be honest though, I had never heard of the two-headed dragon, let alone it being a symbol for a complete life form. At first, I thought maybe this symbol was made up specifically for this series, kind of as a reference to the alchemical union of opposites, a concept I discussed back in the third video. If you'll recall, the union of opposites into one paradoxical being was a sign of divinity, and to me, the phrase complete life form signified the same thing. My suspicions gained further confirmation when I researched the two-headed dragon symbol. While I believe I was right in thinking that the two-headed dragon wasn't as widely recognized a symbol as Edward made it out to be, I was wrong in thinking that it didn't exist at all. The image you see on screen now comes from an alchemical text called the Liber Pater Sapientiae, written by an anonymous author. My alchemical intuition tells me that this two-headed dragon represents Mercurius, a shape-shifting alchemical being that I linked to the character of Father in video 2. One piece of evidence for this includes the circle he is standing on top of. In this and many other depictions of Mercurius, Mercurius will either stand on top of a circle or live inside a circular flask. This is because the circle represents the sphere-shaped void of the cosmos, aka the Prima Materia. More importantly, though, are the two heads reaching out to the sun and the moon, to Sol and Luna. The two-headed dragon represents the union of these two natures into, like I said in video 3, a divine, paradoxical being. I believe that the symbol on the Xerxes tablet was referencing the same union of opposites because it, like the image from the Liber Pater Sapientiae, prominently feature the sun and the moon. There is one other thing that this dragon represents, by the way, and it has to do with FMA's concept of Alkahestry. Before I tell you that, I will now provide your regularly scheduled recommendation that you should increase your attention span. Things are about to get more complicated, but if you pay close attention, you will have your mind blown. First, a bit of review. Alkahestry is like alchemy in that they both employ transmutation. Where they differ is their focus. Alkahestry focuses on the manipulation of chi energy, which is sort of like a life force that binds and penetrates all things. This focus on chi is what enables Alkahestry practitioners, like May, to perform medical transmutation more effectively than the Amestrian alchemists, who are less focused on medical alchemy and more on transmutation of matter. Though Alkahestry isn't an actual concept in real-life alchemy, the root word alkahest very much is. Alkahest is a lesser-known term given to the universal solvent and/or medicine of alchemy, the elixir vitae, which resides within the Philosopher's Stone and grants eternal life. The more popular term for that substance is Azoth. Now, Azoth is both a very simple and very complicated alchemical concept. We'll start with the clearest definition of Azoth, and then slowly go through the various ways it applies to FMA. First, as I just said, the function of Azoth, aka Alkahest, was primarily as a solvent. Like the chemical vitriol, which I talked about in video 4, it could break down any and every compound in the known universe into its most fundamental components. That's what Azoth is most commonly understood to be. The thing is, though, there are a lot of other definitions that are recognized as equally valid. Another definition for Azoth is that it is the animating spirit, or first principle of all substances. It is the thing that makes transmutation possible. This is relevant because the concept of chi is basically the exact same thing. Azoth and chi are both the life force that binds and penetrates every aspect of the universe. It is what May latches onto in order to perform alkahestry, and what the Amestrians use to perform alchemy. In summary, alkahestry is named after Alkahest. Alkahest is another word for Azoth, and Azoth is chi in everything but name. Once again, we see Arakawa demonstrate not only a remarkable understanding of the alchemical doctrine, but the similarities that alchemical concepts share with other religions. But oh man, the connections do not stop there. Be forewarned, the remainder of this video is going to be so nerdy that it might give you a headache. So what you'll often find in alchemic doctrine is that there are many poetic, honorific names given to a single thing. Recall in episode 6, for example, when Dr. Marco gave many names to the Philosopher's Stone, all of which were valid. In the case of Azoth, well, Azoth was more of a poetic name given to a chemical compound, that compound being mercury. Remember back in videos 1 and 3, where I talked about the concept of the tria prima? How every aspect of nature was made up of the 3 compounds, salt, sulfur, and mercury, and how those 3 compounds correspond to the human body, soul, and spirit? Well, mercury, like Azoth, is the animating spirit, the chi, of all living things. As I'm sure most of you know, the name Mercury comes from the Greco-Roman god of the same name. This god carried around a wand known as a Caduceus, which just so happens to be the symbol for the Azoth. Now why is this? Well, where do we see the Caduceus in real life? On medical products, right? Remember what I said before about the Azoth not just being the universal solvent, but the universal medicine? The elixir of life within the Philosopher's Stone? That's why. There is one place that we see the Caduceus in the Ethame anime, the tattoo on Scar's right arm. As we know, the tattoo was created by Scar's brother as a way to try and unite the principles of alkahestry and alchemy. The tattoo on Scar's right arm was originally a part of a 2-arm set when they were on Scar's brother's arms. The tattoo on Scar's brother's left arm allowed him to construct, while the tattoo on Scar's right arm and his brother's right arm allowed them to deconstruct. Now, if the Caduceus is the symbol of the Azoth, and the Azoth is the animating spirit that exists in all things, then it is entirely appropriate that the Caduceus can construct and deconstruct. Using the Caduceus to manipulate matter is the same as manipulating chi to manipulate matter. As for the other symbols on Scar's arm, I didn't know how to give an explanation for that in a way that flowed well with the rest of the video. If you want that explanation, please look in the description box below. Finally, I want to try and bring things back around to the 2-headed dragon. I initially said that it related to the concept of alkahestry, and now I want to finalize the connection. Let's recap what I just presented over the last few minutes. The Alkahest of Alkahestry was a lesser-known name for Azoth. Azoth was like chi in that it was the life force that binds and penetrates all things. Azoth is the poetic name for Mercury, and they both share the symbol of the Caduceus. Now, if you'll recall, I did say that the 2-headed dragon represented Mercurius. Mercurius not only derives its name from the chemical compound and the Roman god Mercury, but it also shares the same alchemical function. Mercurius, like Mercury, binds and penetrates all aspects of nature, for Mercurius is the void of space, the prima materia, from which the universe was born. It's no coincidence, then, that both Mercurius and the compound Mercury are often personified as either a snake or a dragon. It's no coincidence that the Roman god Mercury carries around a wand bearing 2 snakes. Here, we find the promised link between the 2-headed dragon and alkahestry. Alkahest equals Azoth, Azoth equals Mercury, Mercury equals Mercurius, the 2-headed dragon, as well as the Caduceus, and those 2 equal Alkahest. All of these represent the universal agent that runs through every aspect of nature. It is the common element that resides in all things, including the opposites like Sol and Luna. And it is that shared common element that can bring all opposites together. Most of you have said that my explanations in the past videos have been clear, but just in case, I want to offer my help one last time. If anything I said in this video or any of the past videos doesn't make any sense, please let me know in the comments section below. I will do my best to respond to your questions. If you enjoyed this series at all, if it enhanced your love for Fullmetal Alchemist in any way, I will kindly ask that you consider donating to my Patreon, Subscribestar, or PayPal. Doing so will help ensure the production of in-depth analyses not only of FMA, but on many other legendary franchises. If there's no way you can donate, then I please ask that you at least hit the like button. Doing that tells the YouTube algorithm that not only this video is worth watching, but all the other videos in my Fullmetal Alchemist series are worth watching as well. It will then display those videos in people's recommended feeds, which is where I get the bulk of my viewership. Thank you for listening. Until next time, stay yellow.